Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and I'm reading 1 Corinthians and up to chapter 4. Houtos hemas logizes thou anthropos hos huperetas Christou kai oikonomus musterion theou, hodi loipon zetetai en tois oikonomos, hina pistos tis hurethei. Emoi de eis elakiston estin, hina huf humon anakritho e hupo anthropines hemeras. Al udi ematon anakrino, udinga emato sonoida, al uk entuto dikai omai, dedikai omai, hodi anakrinon de kurios estin. I'll just pause it there. So, thus, or in this way, now we've got an imperative here, a third person singular imperative from logisdomai in the middle, and the subject is a man. So thus, let a man regard or reckon us as huperetes, as servants of the Messiah, and as stewards of the mysteries of God. Now, as I may have mentioned before, huperitas, it's a bit fossilised by this stage into just a term for a servant. There's an eretes is a rower, and a huperites is an under rower, one who rows at the bottom level of the ship. It was the worst possible job you could imagine, and hence the term comes to mean a sort of menial servant. There are various different levels of servants, and this one was probably the one at the bottom. Whether that meaning still pervades at this time is not clear, but that was the earlier sense of it. So thus let a man regard us as servants of Christ or of the Messiah, and an oikonomos. We get it cognate, of course, with our word economics. This is one who looks after the household, so it's a servant who manages the house of the mysteries of God. So servants and stewards is often the translation of this, of the mysteries of God. Hodi loipon, now this is slightly idiomatic, and in fact this whole chapter is slightly more difficult. It does contain, Paul's occasionally very elliptic with his expressions, and sometimes uses idioms. So it's hodi loipon. Loipon is often used in the sense of for the future. It's literally that which is left. So it's something like thus from now on, or perhaps in this case, or moreover, or in this connection. People have had various translations of this. So thus in this connection. Now the tsetetai is passive here from tsetio, and probably impersonal. So it's literally, it is sought among the stewards that someone might be found pistos faithful. So heurethe is the aorist passive subjunctive from heurisco. It's a little bit like our expression, in fact it's probably best to translate it this way, that the sense is, in regard to this matter, what one looks for in a steward is that someone might be found faithful. Emoi de es elakiston esti, now this again is idiomatic, so literally it is with regard to the least thing for me. It is with regard to the smallest. This is a superlative from mikros, and you do get, so this is an old superlative. It means the least, the smallest. So you could translate it as I care little, or I couldn't care less, almost. Hina, now hina in the sense of that here, and then we get an aorist passive subjunctive from anakrino. Now we had this verb before meaning to judge in an earlier chapter, so I couldn't care less that I might be judged, it's passive, the theta there, by you, or by literally a human day. Now, it's this again is fairly elliptic. You've got to supply day of judgment, day of reckoning. Others translate it as a day, a bit like our expression, a day in court. And some people translate this by a human court. So it's the appointed day when you have to appear before the court. So some translators have translated it that way. I think I'd rather just say, or by any human day of reckoning, if you're going to put anything after it. But nor anakrino am I judging emauton, reflexive myself. Uden ga emauto sun oida. Now sun oida, it's connected with the sunedesis, meaning conscience. So sun oida means I am conscious of. So I am conscious of nothing in myself. But nor, conscious of myself, but not en tuto, but for that, or almost because of that, I do not stand acquitted. I am not in a state of justice or righteousness. So this is a perfect passive here from dikai o is the verb. So it's something like, I'm not conscious of anything in myself, but it's almost despite that, I do not stand acquitted. Ho anakrinon me kurios estin, the one judging me is. Now kurios, often without the article, is simply the divine name, so God, but we often just translate it except the Lord. But in the Septuagint, kurios without the article was often used in place of Yahweh. Hostime prokairu te krinete heos an elthe hokurios, hos kai photise ta krupta tu scotus kai phanerose tas bulas tone, and then we're going to go to a new page, so that, or with the result that, before the appointed time, so it's an imperative here, so me krinete, do not judge te in any way, pro kairu, before the appointed time, heos an, until kurios elthe, until the Lord comes. Hos kai, who also, often be careful with these kais, it often can mean also rather than just and here. So who also, photise, future from photisdo, to shine light upon, ta krupta, the hidden things, tu scotus, of the darkness. This is the tot skotos, third declension neuter noun here. Sometimes, occasionally, you do get skotos in the second declension. It's called a metaplasmus when you move from one declension to the other, but here it's definitely with the ending, it's going to be the third declension genitive. So it's got os, and then it becomes us. So who also will shed light upon the hidden things of the darkness, and phanerose from phaneroo, it's an omicron contract verb, who will make plain the bulas, the counsels, the plans, the counsels, perhaps almost intentions, of turn cardion, of the heart. Kaitoti ho epenos genesatai ekasto apotu theou. So at that time, the praise, epinos, standard word for praise, at that time there will be praise, ekasto, for each man, apotu theou, from God. Tauta de adelphoi, met eschematisa es emauton, kai apollon de humas. Hina en heimin mathe te ta me hupe ha gegraptai. Hina me heis hupa tu henos, physiuste kata tu heteru. Tisca se diakrine, tit de ekes houk elabes, e de kai elabes ti kakasai hoppers me labone. Those are all questions. Ede kekores menoiesti, ede eplutesati, chorus hemon a ebasiliusati, kai ophilen ge ebasiliusati hina kai hemas humin sum basilius somen. Doco ga hothios humas tus apostolos escatus epedexen hos epithanatius hoti theatron egene themen to cosmo kai angelois kai anthropois. I'll just pause it there. Now, O brothers, now metaschematiza is an aorist from metaschematizdo. We get our words, it's cognate with our word scheme. And meta with a verb has the sense of change, so it's the idea of changing from one form to another. So the original meaning of metaschematizdo is to transform or change. Here it seems to have the idea of apply, or transfer or apply. So my brothers, literally I exchange these things to myself. So I apply these things to myself and Apollo dihumas on account of you. Hina, in order that en humin, well, something like that you might know, in order that, this is an aorist subjunctive here from Manthano, in order that among you, you might, sorry, no, it's in us, I should say, sorry, I'm reading who for hey. So in order that in us you might learn, taught, well, this is just an article here, but it means what it means, or the saying, or something like that. So in order that in us you might learn what it means, or what the saying means, and then we get this saying, me hupaha gegraptai. We've got to supply something after the may, so some verb of doing. So do not act beyond that which is written. So do not go beyond what is written, to get the huper there. Do not go beyond what is written. Hina me heis huper tu henos physias. Yeah, in hina me lest. Now this is again tricky here. It's lest one understand of you. Fusi uste. You might puff up. Now this is a funny verb. It's fusi o. This is a passive subjunctive here, so meaning to be puffed up, hence inflated with pride. Lest you might be inflated with pride, hupa tu henos, on behalf of one, kata tu heteru, over the other. So it's awkward with that haste here, because we've got a plural here. The grammar of this sentence is rather odd. So it's lest one of you, and it's really all of you, might be puffed up on behalf of one against another. The sense being here, it's referring back to what Paul was saying before, that you might be proud of Paul over against Apollos, or vice versa. So it's almost, you might have pride in one to the detriment of the other. The Greek is very odd here, especially with the haste here. Tisca se, you need to look at commentaries perhaps to shed more light on it. Tisca se diakrine, who is judging you? Tit de ekes houk elabes, Why do you have, literally, that which you do not have? Sorry, which you have not taken. So why do you have that which you have not taken? And if, or perhaps it could mean receive. So perhaps something like, why do you have that which you have not received? But if also you have received it, why are you boasting, from kalkaamai, why are you boasting as one not possessing it? Or perhaps one not having received it. Perhaps we're getting a bit of punning here on lambano, which can mean to receive or to take. Eidi ke kores menoi esti. Now this is a perfect passive periphrastic construction here. This is from the verb the diacrino is not to judge. I've just realised there when I look at this again. It's who distinguishes you. So in other words, what makes you different? Why do you have that which you have not received? And if you have received it, why do you boast as one not having received it? Yeah, so the diacrino is not to judge here. It means to distinguish or to be different. So what makes you different? Or who makes you different? We would say what makes you different. So to come back to 8 here. This is from an old me verb, korenumi. This is a reduplication. It's a perfect passive. There's the root of it here. So korenumi, if you're looking it up with two nus, which means to fill. It's an old me verb, and this is the periphrastic perfect. So already, literally, you have been filled. So the sense appears to be something like you think you already have all the spiritual food you need. So he's being slightly sarcastic here. So you are already satiated. Another meaning of this. You already have your fill. Might be a better translation. And already you have been made. You are wealthy. From pluteo. You are already wealthy, and apart from us, ebazeliusati, you are ruling, you are acting as a ruler apart from us. Kai ophelon ge apisteliusati, would that in fact you were ruling, in order that also we might rule with you. That's sum plus the basilua. Basilua to be king or to be a ruler. This is the aorist subjunctive here. So would that, and the get is very emphatic. So would that get in fact, don't ignore the particles, they're very important. This one's enclitic, which is why you're getting a double accent here. So would that you were ruling in order that we might rule with you. For doko ga hotheos humas for I think that God apodakesen, as to display, it's from apodake numi, so as put us apostles on display escatus, well, as the least of men. So he's talking about being a basileus, that's a ruler, and now he says, for I think that God has made us apostles at the other end of the spectrum, the escatus, so at the end of the line. Hos epithanatius, so this is an adjective. It's only here in the New Testament, and this is the first time it appears in Greek. You can see the roots of it, of thanatos, as men condemned to death. Hoti, because egene thamen, we have, this is from Ginomai, we have been made, it's a passive here, theatron, or not a theatre but a spectacle here. It originally meant theatre, theatron. connected with the verb theaomai, to behold, to look at something. Cognate, in fact, with our English word theorem in mathematics. So because we have been made a spectacle to the world and to angels and to mankind. And I'm just going to pause there and continue this in the next recording.